we
So
had a catch-up time on presentation and just reflecting about that. So
yeah, sure,
this
sure.
did
Come
well.
on. Every time I've ever done anything like this, I've always needed to debrief afterwards. I've always needed to sort of go over what went well, and how I'm feeling about it. It helps me unwind after sort of a
Yeah,
bit of
just thinking in the amazing work everybody's like, the thing that really took me by surprise was a lot of games in this cohort, right? Except for two, everybody was using different platforms and
Yeah, they were
languages
different. They weren't
that
like
there was
similar
no
as well.
overlap. Like you couldn't say like these games were similar or something.
Right. Well, yeah, partly what influenced that is the kids made their own drawings and assets, right? So when you're not using canned sprites, you get a much wider range, and the artwork in those things, super, super impressive. So, but I have to say, in terms of mechanics, when I saw the little Sudoku, you can just click the number and then it eliminates the numbers. I have not played online Sudoku, so I was super impressed by that. So even though it didn't win the beauty contest, in terms of just sort of the technical complexity of it, I really thought yours blew it away, Amy. So
Thank you.
and I'm pretty familiar with the algorithms because I've had students try to make Sudoku before, and the eighth graders that I worked with weren't able to get a working game or finish. So Shilpa, that a lot is to your credit that you.
No, it's totally Amy, her willingness and her enthusiasm to actually take in and move at that fast speed is very impressive. And her doing that, we got to this stage. There were a lot of decisions where we had to say, oh, we will come back to it, because I think at one point Amy wanted to do an automatic solver. And
That
that
was
would
like
have
the goal,
Oh,
and then
wow.
we were like, oh, we'll just make like a game instead. But yeah, we can now. There's like the base, so we can always like add it in.
So that can be next step.
That's the next step.
Is have online solver. You can play against the computer or something. But
yeah.
But I was wondering, you might have mentioned this briefly, that you had an interest in Sudoku before. Amy, were you actually a player? Do you play it as a little pastime?
I mean, yeah, sometimes like, yeah, I think so. Yeah, like they're in the newspaper. Sometimes I'll just like do them because I'm like, why not, kind of thing. But yeah.
Right. And so I was just wondering, as a player, how that might have influenced some of the choices you made about the way you wanted it to work and the kind of interface that makes it fun for you. Because I know I'm always writing little numbers in the corners of the boxes, for instance, like what I can't put there or something, and how you built that into the game. I was wondering if that was based on you playing it, what makes a game fun, so
like a little bit, like when we were figuring out like how we wanted it to like kind of like work like behind the scenes, kind of like I wrote out like how like you usually go about like just playing like a game, like not even how you want to do it on the computer, but just how to play it, so you can just think through the steps and then turn that into code. So that was helpful. And then also like when it gets rid of the numbers, like because usually like I think like if you play like the Chronicle, like I think it's the New York Times, I'm not sure, you can have it like show the numbers that are available and stuff sometimes, I think,
okay.
which is cool. And like, but it also helps, it's online, you need a way to like put in the number, so it like is bonus, like works two ways, like shows you which numbers are available and then also like allows you to pick one, so it's like two things kind of.
Right. No, I totally loved that. I mean, just in terms of the beauty of that interface, I was just super impressed by it. So that's exactly what you want, right? Is click a little number, have it go big, and then eliminate it from all of the possible other locations where it could go. I just thought it was beautiful and just really nicely thought out. So, can you say what was the most fun part of it? Like, was there one particular challenge that when you conquered it, you felt like, oh, that's so satisfying? Most programming projects tend to have some moments like that. I wondered if you could remember any.
I mean, like, it was a kind of like difficult project, but there was like a lot of like really fun moments. Like recently when we got the cells to populate with the dictionaries, there was a lot of like troubleshooting with that, and how we wanted to do that was a big thing. And when it finally worked, it was like really exciting. And then adding that for 4x4 was just really fun, and I really liked that. And then it was like kind of like all came together, like everything. And also adding the UI screen at the beginning was fun. It was like, because it was different than Sudoku, because it was more like, you know, like design-ish stuff with getting the text and the buttons and stuff, but it was still like pie game. And adding that was fun, and I really liked that.
Right. Well, once you have anything graphical, then it does become a visual design project as well as a programming project, right?
Yeah.
And I was just impressed with choices that you made about just font size and font color and things like that. Those are, they seem like little things, but they really affect the enjoyment and usefulness. And I thought you made some really good choices on those details, you know, just what size you made the numbers and how you chose to do like just the right shade of gray, you know, for those background numbers. So
So I second that, and I just want to highlight that the user interface, the first one where you actually choose, is all Amy's thought and design. All I had to do was, yes, that looks great, and let's code it up kind
I
of
think there's like a sketch
situation.
somewhere, maybe on the Google Drive folder, that I like drew out, that's
Yeah.
like based on, I think. Yeah, that's somewhere in there.
yeah, when we did the run throughs, I was encouraging folks to just include screenshots of the first hand drawing or the first sketches of things. And I forgot to remind you guys, because that stuff that you think of as throwaway, like, oh, that was the early stuff, it doesn't look anything like it. Audiences love to see that stuff. So hang on to it. So when you're a famous programmer, you'll be able to say, this was one of my first drawings of one of my first programs, and people love that stuff. So don't throw it away. That's valuable. I'm telling you, it's historically useful. So Amy, do you want to say anything about MAGIC overall? I think that's one of the points of these interviews, is sometimes they edit out pieces to share like advice to future mentees, you know, MAGIC participants. And I just wondered if you had any thoughts about the way it went for you that might be useful to somebody who's just starting out, like maybe something that you wish somebody had said to you at the beginning that might have helped you could pass along down the road.
I mean, yeah, my advisor, Jennifer, she encouraged me to do it, and like just like even like sign up for it. And I was like, okay, I'll look into this. Because in 6th grade, I didn't really have an interest for like programming as much. So I hadn't really done it. And then in 6th and 7th grade, as we did more of it, I just got more and more interested. And I think like, especially this year, if it wasn't for COVID, I probably wouldn't have been able to do it, just because I live far away from school and take the train home, and it's like kind of chaotic. But this year is like different. And I think just taking advantage of this opportunity was a really good idea. And if you're hesitant about it, just do it, because it's really fun and you can really kind of do whatever you want to do with it. And I think, you know, like even after the presentation, you're like, wow, like that's a really cool project that you didn't even think of doing. And it was just a really great experience, and I'm really glad I did it.
Shilpa, I might ask you a similar thing, like what drew you to it, and what drew you to consider being a mentor? And then would you have any advice about people who were interested in being mentors? Like what kind of support worked best? Or, I mean, if you can get a great student like Amy, so I know that's when, but you don't have control over that. So, but any other thoughts that might be useful to mentors?
Yeah. So it's this feeling of accomplishing the project at the end is what is the goal that drives, let's do another one, let's do another one. And really MAGIC is all about having a separate dedicated space for exploring your interests, especially for mentees at this stage, where the focus should be exploring as much as you can, not sort of tunneling in one specific domain. And Magic sort of gives a space for exploring that. And in that space, I think I'm a little bit selfish because I get to experience those interests as well, right? I would have never gone and made a game myself, but because Amy was interested, we sort of got into it and sort of figured out how to do it. So, so it's doing these projects also exploring for me as well. So if there's anybody on the fence, I would say just, jump in and try it, give it a try. And, the Magic volunteers and the board members actually do a really good job of matching interests. So it's very rare that, you would see mismatches. There's some overlap of interest, which you can, build off of to make the project. So definitely worth a try.
Yeah, I totally love what you said about a dedicated space, right? Because Amy could have fooled around and looked online for things, but there's just something about, it's sort of like what people say about personal trainers, right? Like they go to the gym and there's a personal trainer there to meet them for their workout. And you just feel, you don't cancel, you show up and you do set aside the time when somebody else has been willing to volunteer their time. That sort of elevates the value of what you're doing. And I think it adds so much to the student's experience to know that.
I think also like when you work on someone, have someone else's like input on it who has had more experience than you is also really helpful, because they might think of a different way to do it, or like, just other ideas for your project. And it's really great.
Right. If you're just learning online, programming in particular, you can just go down and look little rat holes on the internet. We're like, this does not work. I don't know why it doesn't work. I'm completely stuck. I don't understand if I even have the right version of these tools I'm supposed to be using. And having somebody you can just turn to and they can tell you one little thing that'll clear that up. That's just super valuable. And Shilpa, that's what you bring to this. So I feel really fortunate to have people like you involved with students from our school. It's just so valuable, and I appreciate it. And I know Amy does too. So.
Thank you. And it's actually literally thanks to Ira to having, thought of and started it and made it possible for
she invented
people
it,
like
right?
me to come. Yes, yeah.
So, and we just sort of fit into the program, but she made it. So
yeah, it's a really good match for GMS. Like it could be a part of this. I mean, it is a part of the school, but like it could be a more core part of the school, I think, having more girls do it.
Oh yeah, that's the worst thing about Magic, is that every year we have quite a few more girls interested in doing it than we can find mentors for, and that part is upsetting. Like, as much as I love meeting the kids who have these ideas and hearing from them and learning, what they want to work on, every year we have to turn down a bunch of them. So that's the part that isn't good, but. If the worst thing you can say about the program is we want more of it, then
yes,
I guess that's not, it's kind of a indirect compliment. So